daggone dorks.
Hey, internets! It's the Dork Lords. It's Ted. It's Rob calling in from St. Louis.
Yes.
Former comedy buddies of mine. We were on stage. In fact, we did some Star Wars parodies, which I think qualifies us to talk about Star Wars.
We did the Tigran Jamiro sketch.
The Tigran Jamiro sketch.
Tigran Jamiro.
Some like it hot.
Real quick, he is the one in Empire Strikes Back who tells Han, hey, your tauntaun will freeze before it reaches the first marker. Which then, of course, gets... Yes, what's that?
Well, I was saying, all right. So, in
we're talking
Empire
Last Jedi, by the way. Go ahead.
Han makes, the rash, bad decision. Had that scene occurred in Last Jedi,
he'd have died.
Han would have died, and Tigran Jamiro would have been proved right.
Actually, no. If it had been Empire Strikes Back, Han would have lived, but he'd have gotten everyone else killed.
Yes, right. Tigran Jamiro would have gotten killed as a result of Han leaving.
Now, so real fast, like what's awesome about Tigran Jamiro in that scene is it does spawn the single biggest overreaction in Star Wars film.
It does.
Which is Han.
I'll see you in hell for telling me it's too cold outside. There's a very probable chance that I will die.
I mean, like, honestly, he's giving helpful information. Yes,
he really is.
He is giving you information you probably don't want to hear because you want to go save your friend. But he's giving you information that does prove to be correct. The tauntaun dies. And you would think, in a different context, it would be like, hey, thanks for the info. I'm going to risk it.
It's funny. He doesn't say anything that's not true because he never says, you'll freeze.
He says, your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker.
All right, I know we're
enough,
off topic, but yes. Here's the other real quick thing as I was thinking about Tigran Jamiro. Does this mean Han is a Christian?
Do they have space hell?
Do they have space hell?
Lots of people have hells. Lots of people have hells.
Yes, but wouldn't he say, then I'll see you in Schnarkenfliegen? Or whatever he literally calls it hell.
Here's the thing, most religions have like a punishment dimension in there somewhere, and that's just
shorthand.
That's shorthand for hell.
The problem is, if you start analyzing too much stuff about Star Wars, it starts falling apart.
Okay.
It's like the hell of boiling oil.
Well, for instance, look at this way. If you start saying,
it just says keep up.
His ship is the Millennium Falcon. Well, what's a Falcon in Star Wars?
Yeah, good call. Good call.
They
it's
have
like the Holy Grail, that rabbit's dynamite.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry. All right. Now, Last
Off
Jedi. That's
topic.
what we're here to talk about. We got off topic. That's great. Kind of on topic, a little bit.
Super off topic.
Because Last Jedi is supposedly the amalgam to the antecedent or whatever to Empire Strikes Back. It's supposed to be, hey, look, this is the analog. Now, it's not exactly an analog. It does have some similarities to it. But let's talk about Last Jedi. We've already had a couple of folks give their Dork Lords give their opinions, but not you guys. Let me hear your just initial thoughts before we deep dive into this thing. What are your thoughts on Last Jedi?
I liked it.
I also liked it.
I thought it was even better than Force Awakens. I enjoyed it. I just got off seeing it for the third time, and
I'm about to see it again tomorrow, by the way. FYI.
I've only seen it once, but I have a 1-month-old, so that's my excuse.
You got the baby excuse. I just kept having friends and family members who hadn't seen it, and it's just, I should come with you. I've been eager to see it again, and it has not gotten worse with continued watching.
Yeah, I would like to watch it more times,
I appreciate it a little bit more every time I see it, which, ever since The Force Awakens came out, I've been trying to make sure that I haven't done what I did when Phantom Menace came out. Because when I saw Phantom Menace in the theaters, I liked it.
Okay.
Because I really, really wanted to
like it. And it had Darth
We were also in middle school at the time, or was it high school? It was early high school.
Phantom Menace was 1999.
Okay. So, freshman in high school.
Duel of the Fates and that freaking lightsaber battle when he's got the two-handed lightsaber.
That's some awesome stuff right there.
Yeah, actually, that's fair. Is Phantom Menace stuck the landing? Yeah. The routine was terrible.
Fumbled the whole yeah.
Yeah.
Just some awkward gymnast just falling over the floor, and then all of a sudden manage to trip themselves into this great landing. And you're like, whoa! Hey!
Whoa! I remember that.
Phantom Menace we're talking about. Jumped on top of the vault, took a shit on it. And then backflipped off and stuck with it.
Okay, off topic. All right. Give me 3 things that you particularly enjoyed about Last Jedi. It could be of anything. Like it could be a particular portrayal, a musical cue, a particular scene, whatever.
All right.
Go.
All right. So you want to talk music? All right. So I have not seen a film that I can recall where I have been more emotionally affected by a character's death than The Last Jedi. Luke Skywalker, spoiler, dies.
You're supposed to say spoiler. Then
You're watching this. Yeah.
Spoiler for Team Jamiro. Okay.
So here's the thing. We all knew he was going to die at some point in the trilogy. We knew it was going to happen.
If you remember, we talked about it in our prediction video.
Yes, I figured he was going to bite it in the next one, but we knew it was going to happen. We knew it was coming.
Yes.
And then there's the scene he's like being super badass and amazing. You're like, you were awesome, Luke. And then it cuts back and you see him like clutching to life, and you're like, no, this is going to happen. And I'm like sitting in my seat, staring at the theater, being like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And he dies. He sits on the rock, and he's looking at the two suns.
The music plays, comes back.
Like calmly sitting there and becomes one with the Force, and you're like, Gah!
The wind blows the cloak away.
Beautiful, horrible moment.
Agreed.
So,
it was a beautiful death scene.
Yes. And to further this point, so I have a 3-year-old, and his favorite thing in the world is pretending to be Luke Skywalker staring at the twin sons of Tatooine. He likes to just stand there, I'm looking at the two sons of Tatooine, sing the Luke song. And so that
So one of my favorite things from this is a silly little thing, but I love the small moments. The Yoda cameo,
Muppet Yoda,
made my night.
Muppet
Yoda. The camera pans, and it's like, oh look, I know those ears. I know those ears in that eerie blue Force glow.
Yep, this is Muppet Yoda.
Little funny thing on that was so my buddy Theron, I think you know Theron.
Oh yes,
huge Star Wars fan. Huge Star Wars fan, and so he was trying so hard not to get anything spoiled. He's like, oh, not look at anything, But he did go ahead and listen to the finale. And he's a big music guy.
Okay.
And so he wrote to me, because I had already seen the movie. We had a little bit of gap between when I saw it and he saw it. He goes, I just listened to the finale. I heard Yoda's theme. Don't confirm this, but I think Yoda's in this movie. So be it, I'm not confirming it, but yeah, so he spoiled himself by listening to the soundtrack, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, so yes, a nice appearance by Yoda. He looked a little odd, but it didn't take me out of the movie or anything, and I really enjoyed...
What made him look odd to you?
I don't know. Somehow the puppet, I don't know. It didn't...
I think it was just a slightly different angle than they filmed it previously as Muppet Yoda.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't like, oh, that's horrible. It was just like, oh, okay.
He was a Muppet. I was happy. Had the silly Muppet Yoda laugh back and full act.
Oh yeah, no, him just burning the house down.
Burning things down and gleefully giggling.
So that's the point, though. Now that introduces a whole new set of powers, as far as I know, for Force Ghosts.
That they're not impotent.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, in terms of long-term predictions, that we haven't seen the end of Mark Hamill.
No, I think he's going to be back.
Not. I mean, he even gives that
literally
line,
becomes one with the Force.
Around, kid.
And the last thing, exactly. The last thing he says is, see you around, kid.
Yeah.
My guess, I would actually really enjoy, in Episode 9, I would enjoy if he's not hanging around with, Rey, but just screwing around with Kylo Ren.
Just pissing off Kylo Ren.
He kind of teases that he's going to do that.
He indicates, he says, hey, if you strike me down in violence, which, of course, he kind of doesn't do, but he tries to.
He sure tries. Not for lack of trying.
I'll be around just like your father. I was kind of almost expecting a Han Solo. I was like, how is Han Solo a Force Ghost? But anyway, yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance that he could haunt Kylo.
Oh, yeah. I would dig that. I would be all about that.
That would be a fun little twist on the Force Ghost, because we spent the entire original trilogy getting the movie annual Alec Guinness cameo. So why not?
Well, I mean, if Force Ghosts can choose when and where they show up, why not show up? I assume the only qualifying factor is probably that the person can channel the Force.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because Luke was he cut himself off from the Force, didn't see, and then he taps back into it, and Yoda's like, "Oh, Master Skywalker, missed you, I have."
So Kylo uses the Force, so I would assume, you could just pop in. You could bring a whole gang. Come on, Obi-Wan. Come on, Yoda.
Oh yeah,
Let's
Literally
plug
bring
him.
Darth Vader and be like, hey, you know that guy you're trying to be like? Yeah, here he
Yeah.
is. This guy. Yeah.
Stop trying to be me.
It didn't go well.
I mean,
You know what? We just joke about that. That could be a thing, by the way. I'll just throw that out there. All right, anyway.
Here's the thing: would it be? Would it? The real question is: would it? It wouldn't be Darth Vader though. It would be Anakin
Oh, it
Skywalker,
would totally be Anakin Skywalker. But
which
I'm saying,
means we have to see Hayden Christensen again.
No.
we would have to see a Hayden Christensen again, yes, in that
Because
situation.
it's not going to be that dude they photoshopped out of Return of the Jedi to
No.
replace him with Hayden Christensen.
Uh,
Like, that's
It would
why.
be Hayden.
Like, I'd
We're
love
not going to get that. Just silly. There's too many things that would have to work for that to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, we're gonna.
But I could see it. I could see a communal moment with Kylo and Anakin. I mean, that on its face, if you take Hayden Christensen out of that equation, that could be a powerful scene.
That's just it.
saying.
It would just be. It would be old Hayden Christensen, and it would be
Ugh.
awful.
It would. Because that's the whole thing. Is like these two movies have been like, hey, remember the prequels? We'll forget them. Don't. You don't have to anymore.
They mentioned something that happened in the prequels once in Last Jedi.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
It was basically the fact that the Jedi screwed up so badly.
Meta reference to the sequel, the prequels themselves, perhaps.
We think the prequel Jedi sucked too.
Yes, it's like, look, they blew this so hardcore.
Okay, all right. So, we'll talk about some predictions maybe at the end. So we'll, as you think of other predictions, put them in your brain.
I got a bunch of predictions. We're all set to do predictions. We're all set to do
Ghost of
predictions.
Skywalker future, I think, is definitely
Yeah.
So, any other standout moments for you then?
I mean, more so just the sheer balls on the movie to basically take all of your expectations and be like, nope. Like, I love that. It's like, oh, we've set up Snoke as this big bad guy. Psh, he's dead. Oh, we've set up this big mystery. Who are Rey's parents? Nobody.
Now, is there any possibility at all that Snoke's spirit somehow comes?
No, he's dead.
Because that's the whole thing.
It's basically, I agree with that. I was just throwing it out there as a... Is there a thing or no?
Snoke's gone.
Nope.
I think the fact that they showed that extra scene of his bisected body...
His rotting
laying
corpse.
there, his
They're like,
Hux is just like, well, so
this
much
is not a
better.
Darth Maul. We're not pulling a Darth Maul in this. This dude's gone.
Yeah,
He is
we
dead.
see the body lying on the floor. He has voided his bowels on his fancy big chair. Snoke is dead.
Snoke is dead.
Yeah.
Snoke is
I gotta say, I really enjoyed the Kylo and Rey versus the dudes in red lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
I thought
I
that
agree.
was a really...
That was a cool fight scene.
We've had so many lightsaber fights in so many of these movies. Trying to find ways to keep it fresh is
hard.
difficult. It really
Right.
is. And I think that they found a really cool way to do it with like the red clad guards and their assortment of soul caliber weapons. Like one of those guys was Ivy.
He was, yeah,
Like-
totally.
He had the Ivy whip because it was like a
the
sword
whip was,
and then
and then he brings it back in with him.
That was awesome.
but some of the cool tricks that they had. Like,
Oh yeah, and
the-
it was well choreographed, so you could see you didn't have the crazy prequels era like we're flipping around and
No.
spinning doing stuff. Ah!
It was like halfway between. It's halfway between. It's
Yeah.
because
It
Star
was
Wars
highly choreographed, but you're right. It didn't. It still felt like there was peril.
Looked more.
it was a
felt
lot
more visceral.
It was a lot cleaner than the prequel fights, which were all like, let's see how many times we can spin this lightsaber.
Yeah, a lot of spinning
Because the answer was a lot.
all the time.
We're gonna get a double-sided lightsaber just so we can spin it more.
Yeah.
By the way, I know I just said don't do predictions yet. I think there's a reasonable chance that we could see maybe a double-bladed lightsaber from Rey. I don't know when she makes her own.
Who knows?
I don't
Yeah,
know. We'll
She-
see.
I don't
Anyway.
think so. I think she's
She's
just
got
gonna
the
go
staff,
straight up
maybe?
just lightsaber.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. But I'm just saying, there's since they built this thing of using a staff,
Oh.
they could have her be. She's skilled enough to use
Okay,
it.
maybe.
Okay, you know,
That's-
a staff
that's-
makes a certain like a
Because
double,
she is good with the staff, so
she
maybe.
does. Yeah.
Just
And
throw that
they
out
even
there.
made a point of showing that she's way better with a staff than she is with a lightsaber.
That is true.
Because there was the bit with the Rock. By the way, this is a little thing to love, but I did love the running gag with the caretakers.
Yes.
The island caretakers.
We talked about
We did. I thought they were
the
going to be a
dinosaurs and nut habits, and they turned out pretty good.
But no, they did. They did. I wasn't. That did not take me out of the movie. I agree that apparently there was more of that shot, and they just they decided let's moderation.
Two
on the
two
nuns.
was enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just enough.
2 was enough. Like the first bit of her shooting a hole and then getting screamed at by dinosaurs and nun habits, and then this very serious training montage. Oh crap! I messed up. Oh, and I love anticipation. Like there's a way to make an anticipation joke that is beautiful, and it's you see her cut the top off the rock, and then they switch the camera to the 2 nuns with a cart, and you're going, we know
where this is going.
Exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, well let's talk then. A good segue into the comedy of the piece. Obviously, there were a lot of comedic beats.
Yeah.
Some of them more successful than others. But what are some other comedic beats that you liked? Like I enjoyed. I liked the line that Luke is like, "Hey, where are you from? Nowhere. Hey, look, no one's from nowhere. It's like, Jakku. Okay, well that's nowhere."
Yeah.
No, a lot of Mark Hamill, a lot of the Luke and Rey banter was great. The line that always sticks out to me was, "I've seen your daily schedule. You are not busy."
Yeah.
Let's all take a minute. Let's all take a minute. Also, to if we're talking comedy, let's talk about Luke Skywalker walking on down to the beach with his jug, getting some weird ass green milk.
Oh, from the scrotum walruses.
The thing just in there sunning itself.
I called it a space.
Totally
Scrotum
unfazed.
walrus.
And he takes a big old swig of that milk and not losing any eye contact with Rey the whole time. Like, yeah, you want to be a Jedi? This is what I do.
By the way, I was watching IGN. I'll give them credit. They mentioned that that was a puppet. That was a practical effect. That space cow thing. It took like 8 puppeteers to make that thing work.
Puppeteers.
So they had nipple puppeteers, and they had like that was it took a huge amount of effort to do that.
Mom, I'm in Star Wars.
I'm in Star Wars. What are you? I'm the left teat.
It had 4. Lower left. Gotta specify upper or lower left. By the way, talking the camera's left or the scrotum walrus is left.
Kudos for practical effects. I'm not sure that 8 puppeteers was worth that scene, but okay.
You know what? Okay. It worked. So you know what? Good for you,
all right.
Jim.
It's Star Wars. It's not like it's not in the budget.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I enjoyed the yes, I'll wait. I'm on hold.
It was too much.
But it was too long, right? It was too long. It became comedic for comedic's sake.
This was an issue that Rogue One had too, where occasionally the dialogue, and frankly, this is Star Wars. Like, this is not a deal breaker by any stretch, because the original trilogy had it in spades of the awkward lines.
Well, in fact, actually, the awkward communications. If you remember Han Solo in New Hope, he's like, we're fine here. We're all good. That works beautifully.
Yeah, no, we're fine. We're all fine here. We're fine. How are you?
And it doesn't work, and we're coming out. So I feel like, it tried to go to the absurd, which I appreciate absurdity in comedy, but it didn't feel.
It worked right up until the Imperial captain turns to him and goes, "I believe he's tooling you." So that was the point where it was too far. Because right up till then, I was with it, but
it was funny. I laughed at it. I just thought,
a lot of it was trying to kind of do the because the thing is in Force Awakens, your first real comedic bit with Poe is like, so how does this work? You talk first, I talk first. That was great. It was kind of trying to do something like that.
It was well within character for something Poe Dameron would do.
Yeah, totally.
It's still not, because they had this in Rogue One too, we're trying just a bit too hard, because that was in Rogue One, be careful not to choke on your ambition.
Yeah, that one didn't work. That did not work. Sorry, Darth.
I'm not even sure if that was an attempt at humor, though, as much as it was just like, let's throw a punch at Darth Vader. I don't know.
Choke vision in that I'm literally going to choke you to death. Just
like they had the
throw it out there.
Finn
You'll get see what I did there.
It's a pun, but it's really a threat. I'm going to kill you.
It's really disturbing, but it's funny too.
I think it's funny.
But the Finn, with the water hoses coming out, is funny.
I like that.
Silly,
that worked mostly because the BB-8 bit right before it.
Yeah.
Finn naked hose bag?
And fair, I give credit to John Boyega for selling that too. Of the
Right.
complete and utter bafflement.
And also, they did a great job of the one thing that this did really well was switching like on a dime of the like, oh, we're having fun.
Everything's horrible.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
Because
leading to Leia, for instance, in that moment.
you know,
Yep.
there's that bit like they just blew up the hangar. And it's like all these characters who they were teasing that we were going to do things with, all those pilots from the beginning,
Yeah.
and they're all dead.
Dead.
And it's whoa, this is really sad. And then BB-8 humor. Like,
Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, that opening shot, the opening, it's a long scene, but
Oh, battle,
like
that
10,
battle
15
scene?
minutes that, with the dropping the bombs
Yeah.
and Rose's sister, and whew,
yeah.
that was intense and well filmed, and gravity is weird, but whatever, I didn't care. It was a cool scene, really, really cool scene.
Having watched it three
3 times.
because I will admit that like made me go, wait, how are we dropping bombs? We're in space.
Space gravity.
Why do we need to get right over the target?
Magnetism.
Why are we dropping them? This seems like a really stupid way to have a space bomber.
I
But
like the shape of the space bombers too. Let's shape our space bombers like giant popsicle sticks.
it's a-
You don't aerodynamics in space.
It's like all of this. It's like all the ships and vessels from the original trilogy have been on eating binges and have gotten kind of weirdly bloated. Like that's the Star Destroyer. They're like
The
shorter
Dreadnought,
and
yeah.
even the actual Star Destroyers are shorter and squatter.
True.
The AT-ATs that look like that have gorilla hands
I
now.
like that.
I didn't like that. I assume that's an adaptation so that the ships can't trip them.
But these are just
Yeah.
overweight B-wings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
right.
bombers
They were supposed to be B-wing. I agree.
These always look weird anyway.
Do not judge. You cannot say bad things about B-wings.
They look weird.
They're so cool.
I have hit a B-wing nerve.
Boop. Okay.
I like that they were one of like I would doodle B-wings on the side of my notebooks. In
But
school.
I cut you off. But you were
Sorry.
basically saying, despite whatever little the gravity works weird and the ships look odd, the scene was you enjoyed it.
It's a great. Here's the thing. What I love in sci-fi is when you can use the weird sci-fi stuff. I will happily watch them bend science if they can do it for a good storytelling point. And this was used to great effect for a great storytelling point. Like
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
they did that wonderful 180 from like here's Poe tooling around. Here's more
being awesome, flying around,
more
being cool.
BB-8 comedy with the like
that little turn in space.
putting his finger in the dike, and then it's like this U-turn into, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna
Oh,
die.
half so dead.
She's gonna make herself
You never,
have a noble
you never
death.
get that in any of the other Star Wars movies. Like,
Mhm.
people die, but you're like, oh no, Porkins, whatever.
Okay, real quick. This is a little off topic, but somewhat on topic. What you were saying, hey, the technology for storytelling purposes. Okay, so we just cutting real fast to Admiral Holdo uses the hyperdrive to take out.
that bit was so
That was
cool.
amazing.
Scene
That bit was
looks
awesome.
beautiful. The fact that they did it in silence is
Oh,
gorgeous. But this
and
does say something to me of like, wouldn't you buy up like 10,000 hyperdrives and then a whole bunch of just crappy ships that you could remote pilot, and then you have a new weapon.
I mean, the fact that no one ever thought of that beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well,
It's like, whoa, wait, that's actually more powerful than the Death Star, because you can move it anywhere in the galaxy. You can pinpoint a ship. You can pinpoint a city. You can use the
So
same
what's
technology.
interesting is it can't be that perfect, because if we think about this, the exact same thing happened again at the end of Rogue One. Because there's that bit in the end of Rogue One where the Rebel fleet's trying to escape, and one of them goes to hyperspace and bounces off of a damn Star Destroyer.
Okay.
Again.
There's a shot of like one of the
it shows
frigates.
up. It's like swamp, bink. Or something
Yeah.
like that, right? Yeah.
and the Star Destroyer pops in, and like one of the frigates ricochets off it.
There's probably a certain speed maybe you have to
I think
reach.
speed, a size thing.
I think the only reason it worked is because the ship. I mean, if you want to think about it that way, maybe the only reason it worked is because the ship's so far away and
it's so big. Yeah, that's a big ship. You're not gonna take down a dreadnought with an X-wing going super fast.
Yeah,
It's just gonna blow up, and
you
you're like,
need a-
yeah.
Are you sure? Okay, anyway, I'm just saying.
I mean,
I like
get
that.
it.
It's
It's
again.
whatever the writers want, but it is funny.
It's
Like,
whatever the writers
maybe
want.
this is a weapon they should be using more often than they
Well,
are.
it's
but-
Space kamikaze.
Here's the thing: kamikaze is very effective, but there is a reason people don't do it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. They like
I would assume they have
that's the
remote.
time, but
Like,
I would assume they have remote
too.
piloting possibilities.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right. He wouldn't sacrifice people to do it, but if you could do it remotely, do it.
The whole movie definitely operated under the conceit that remotely flying a starship is not a thing that can be done in the Star Wars universe.
Mhm.
They've pretty much they
don't have autopilot.
They have made that very clear from the beginning. I mean, they abandoned ship on the medical frigate, and a guy had to like run it to its death. Like they've got that captain being like, "It's been an honor."
Yeah.
Why are you still on this ship, dude?
Now, interestingly, they did throw in. You were talking Rogue One. They did throw an Easter egg for this tracking through hyperspace into Rogue One. It's one of the battle tactic plans that that they find that Jim
They're looking up a
finds
thing.
when
Yeah.
It's like, look, a black dark saber, blah blah blah, and it's like
Yeah.
hyperspace tracking or something. Is what she said or
Oh.
something. And so it's like it was a plan back then.
Oh,
and
working on that one for a while.
They did work on it.
Well, they hit some delays.
Yes.
You know,
Like
Called
the Empire fell apart,
yes, that
like
thing.
all of them dying.
like everyone being dead.
It's a minor delay when your entire staff dies.
You know.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what are some things that, obviously they made some bold choices. One choice I've already gone on record, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I disagreed with the choice of having Luke contemplate killing Kylo, and as much as standing behind him while he slept, holding the lightsaber. I mean, I'll just say real fast because I've already said this in another video, but his past experiences, people can be redeemed. Hey, I redeemed my dad, even though people said I should kill him off. Oh, look, I tried, and he was redeemed. Great. This is my nephew. It's the son of my sister and best friend, who gave him to my care so that I could teach him in my academy. He is asleep on a bed I probably provided him through my academy, and he's completely defenseless. Yes, I sense that he is evil, and you know what I'll do now is I will kill him in his sleep while he's sleeping with a lightsaber. That just seems like completely un-Luke to me, but that was kind of my main choice that I didn't agree with.
Okay, so for me, it's scanned because for one thing, we need Luke to feel like Luke's level of guilt in this never made sense to me until we're like, oh.
Yeah.
He sees this as his fault, and that's a way for this to be.
And also, how can he go back and like look Han and Leia in the eye after that moment? So you got to have something big like that.
It needed to be big like that. And the other thing is, look, the whole premise of Last Jedi is people being imperfect, even the good guys making mistakes out of pride or fear. That whole. I mean. On some level, Yoda sums up the whole movie when he says, failure, the best teacher.
Sure, or also it's forgetting about the past, letting go of the past, and.
I mean, it's.
I just feel like here's what you could have done theoretically. Sounds like you could do this version I'm about to say, and it would still accomplish what you've just talked about. Is you could say, hey, he started this academy. He had these guys going, great. He had a couple of premonitions about Kylo, or Ben, but didn't act on them. And boy, one day Ben turned to Kylo, killed off the academy, destroyed everything he worked for, and he felt guilty because he didn't see it coming. And now this guy's evil. And you know what? Screw
the other
it.
reason,
I'm done with it.
I don't agree because it's not enough.
Not enough.
It's not enough. And also, here's the other thing: a big part of the suspense and the tension in this movie came from how bad is Kylo Ren really?
Right. I agree that the whole point of it was to humanize Kylo.
And if Ben just freaked out one day and murdered everyone,
then we're right back to Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith.
We're right back to Anakin killing younglings, and so the idea of Rey. This also gives Rey just enough of a squishy situation that her running off to try and redeem him makes more sense. Because, again, if he just went off on a homicidal tear one day,
Then you're like, I can't. Like, how am I going
Like,
to relate this?
who cares about him? In other
He
words,
becomes completely unrelatable. But the fact that he went on a homicidal tear, and the fact that the thing is, we redeem Luke by making it a.
It was a moment.
It was a moment.
And see, I buy it for this reason because so Luke. He's getting these premonitions. He's getting the dark side vibe off of him, and he goes to see him there, and he has this like vision of how bad it could be. This whole idea of like he basically is another Vader. Whole universe, like everything he's worked for is gone, and it's all his fault. And he has this one split-second moment where he's like, I can stop this from happening. I can stop the complete and total destruction of the Jedi, everything I've worked my entire life for. I can stop this in this moment. Can I do it? And he hesitates for that 1 minute of like, should I do this? Sets up the lightsaber, is like, oh shit, I can't do this, but it's too late. It's just that one moment of weakness that it tears it all apart.
There's a Greek tragedy kind of thing going on
there's definitely,
where
because in that moment he wakes up and then he gets the lightsaber.
Yep.
and the act of having the prophecy is what fulfills the prophecy.
Oh, that one again.
It is Greek tragedy.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
By the way, just some little nerd insight. I give credit to, I think it's Stupendous Wave. He's a nerd who does a whole lot of Star Wars stuff on YouTube, and so I give him credit for this. But and I'll trust him on this because I didn't see this myself. But okay, in that moment when Ben deflects, or the green lightsaber with his blue lightsaber, it is a blue lightsaber. It is not the blue lightsaber. And the hilt design is the same as Kylo's red lightsaber design, with the exception of the vents. So what that implies is Ben built his blue lightsaber. He was part of the academy probably. Let's design our lightsaber day, craft day. And then when he became Kylo, he decided, you know what, I want a red lightsaber like my grandfather. And what I understand from the canon is there's this process called bleeding, where Siths can
basically
bleed
corrupt
crystals.
The crystal.
And for whatever reason, perhaps because he wasn't fully committed to the dark side, he kind of screwed up the process. The crystal wasn't perfectly bleed, and so the vents are there to stabilize this perfectly bled crystal that was originally in his blue lightsaber. Anyway,
also to make it look like a sweet-looking broadsword.
It does look pretty cool.
It does look pretty, but it's also just the fact that he did make it. It's kind of confirmation that he made that weapon.
Well, and
he didn't
also
find it or something.
It's very clear that they did a really good job of subtly making it clear that the lightsaber is as unstable as he is, because since Force Awakens, his lightsaber has not had the same hum as everyone else's.
Yeah,
lightsaber.
it's always a little.
Oh yeah, it crackles.
It's got that sine wave to it. Where it's
Yeah. And I
thought it might explode at some point in Force Awakens. I thought maybe that was going to be a plot point, but who knows? Maybe
they blow up Anakin's.
Say we're getting rid of the past.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So that was obviously in conjunction with the go to hyperdrive. There, 3 things happened at the same time.
No, it was very cool.
Going to light speed, pull the lightsaber apart, and Phasma falls into the abyss, which she probably's dead, but we don't know.
She's dead.
No, I don't think she's dead.
She's dead.
You think
she's
dead?
got the armor on, and she disappeared.
Yeah, I think she's dead.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't think she's dead.
I agree with Ted on this one. I think
Because
she's alive.
Here's the thing. She was on Starkiller Base when it blew up. We have one of the things that we have established about Captain Phasma is she's apparently ludicrously difficult to kill.
Yeah.
Also, she did. I mean, they made a big deal about this special armor she's got. Blah blah blah. You could
Cool.
easily write it in to say, "Oh yeah, and by the way, it's heat resistant."
Because here's the thing.
She fell into a flat
Like,
fireball.
we don't know what was at the bottom of that shaft. Like,
I'm thinking she's dead.
I think it was hay and cushions, and it was a mattress
She
factory.
filmed the Imperial Mattress Depot. That's where they.
Maybe she fell to like the comically sinister ironing section and just fell into the laundry.
I mean, it kind of goes that same point of Mace Windu, right? He fell out a window and died, but we're like, other people fell out windows and survived just fine. Darth Maul fell and survived in some
To be
weird
fair,
way.
Mace Windu was shot with electricity, stabbed, then pushed out a window.
And had his arms cut off.
But he
Or his
did
hands got cut off.
he did the fall out of frame, but he's dead.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that you could use that as a evidence that she's dead.
I think you're not that was sort of a climactic thing from a plot standpoint.
It was a
that was
narrative
sort of
arc.
Finn's standing up to
When he's
Phasma,
like,
officially being like,
when he says,
I'm
I'm
gonna,
rebel scum.
I'm not just gonna run away from the First Order. I'm gonna fight the First
Yeah.
Order. And so I think from that point, there's no reason to bring her back.
I had a very interesting situation the last time I watched it, because I actually took my parents out to see this, and my mother had not seen Force Awakens.
Oh, really?
And I didn't realize this till like the movie's starting. So I'm having to be that jerk in the back who's like, this is important for this reason.
This character, they did that.
And I will say that it is a sign that this movie stands well on its own, and she still enjoyed it. But at one point, just to sort of sum up, as Finn's running to the escape pods again, also good comedic lines is him at the very end. I know where the nearest escape pods are. Of course you do. Nice little throwaway line of like, oh, you're a coward. But one of the ways I was able to sum up Finn quickly is I'm like, he cares a lot more about Rey than he does about the rebellion.
That's fair.
And that's
fair.
like, that was the fastest sum up. And it's like, I think what we saw was that blipping at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So wait, that's a good point. Do we see? I always have some Lord of the Rings analogy. So is this a Eowyn, Arwen, Aragorn thing where Arwen and Aragorn are an item, and then Eowyn's like, "But I love you, Aragorn." I'm putting Finn and Rey, and then the third person on the outs being Rose. I mean, Rose obviously cares about Finn. She kissed him. She's like, we do things for people we love. That's what separates us. But I don't know that Finn loves her back.
I don't think he does.
I actually think they're going to swap this around. I don't think they're going to, it's a Star Wars movie. They're not going to spend that much time on relationshipping. I hope.
I doubt it.
But actually, they most likely are setting up Rey and Poe Dameron.
Rey and Poe?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think. They haven't spent any time on it.
At the very end, they were.
I don't think they're setting up Rey at all. Oh, she's going to stand on her own.
Yeah,
And I think Poe will too.
She could just be a Jedi priest, in other words.
Thank you, out of frame.
Morgan. No, I'm with you. I think I can
actually
see. Yeah, I can see Rey not really getting with anybody.
I mean, Luke walked out of the original trilogy.
Like, I think that may end up being the case. Like, she just kind of does. I don't know. I have no idea.
Good point. Because she's gonna.
Woman.
I assume she's going to start a new academy. And
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Will she?
I think she will.
I think the Jedi come back because there's that thing where Luke says, "I'm not the last Jedi." Obviously, he's saying Rey is, but I think that means that she's going. And then we see the little.
And
kid.
she's got the books.
There's the little kid Jedi. He had the Force powers for the broom.
That was a nice little. I like the fact they didn't feel the need to rub that in. It was just like broom.
Yeah. If you're not paying attention, you don't even notice.
I noticed. I know several people who did not.
Yeah. If you don't catch,
it occurred to me maybe he should use the Force powers to clean the stable.
I'm guessing he's kind of new to the Force.
I use it to get a broom to me and sweep. I'm like, dude.
Like, the part of me wonders if he even realized he was using the Force at the time. Like, maybe he just put his hand out to grab it, didn't realize. Like, that's the thing. Like, how much does this kid know he's got the Force?
Yeah, but I think that the implication of that, especially since it's the last scene of the movie, is this is the future of not only the Resistance, but also perhaps of the Jedi or the...
No, I think we're going to see a reestablishment. I think The Last Jedi was a tease. The fact that she stole the books sort of indicates that she's...
The knowledge will be carried on.
Right.
Well, I do love the... you watch it again, you just see like the little nods. There's a lot there to reward multiple watchings. And one of the things that I loved this, was Yoda doing that certain point of view Jedi lying thing. Because what he says, when he burns the place down, there's nothing in there that the girl Rey does not already possess.
Right.
And he meant that in a very literal sense, which I appreciate.
Yeah. No, that was good. All right. Well, let's shift a little bit to, you mentioned theories. Let's talk theories about Episode 9. What we see from this. For instance, is Kylo the big villain? Now?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is he redeemable? Yeah. Is his redemption arc in there at all?
I don't think we're I don't think there's going to be a redemption arc, but the question of whether or not it's just straight up kill is the big question for me, because they set up a whole lot talking about you got to have the balance, and how do you do that? Because that's the whole. This is my big takeaway from it is the question of who is Snoke. Well, in Return of the Jedi, Luke kills off the Emperor and Darth Vader in one go. So there's a big like drop off in Dark Force, and so it goes somewhere and goes into Snoke, and you get Snoke. And so it's like, all right, so if we just kill off Kylo Ren, it's gonna come back somewhere. How do you deal with that balance? So I think he's definitely gonna be the big bad, but I don't think he's gonna go the redemption.
No,
You're saying you don't even think he's gonna die. I think he's gonna die.
I think he's gonna die, but I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think it's gonna be a straight up. I'm not sure how they're gonna handle it.
And I really enjoy. I can't wait for the Odd Couple dynamic between him and Hux that they've been playing.
Oh yeah,
like, that's gonna be a lot of fun in this next one. I mean, you had that great bit when Kylo's unconscious, and it's the I'm gonna shoot him now while he's waking up. Never mind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Also, the great line that Hux has where he's like, I forgot the exact line, but it's like, I think you got him. Or whatever. Like when he's like, I think you got him. I think you hit him there. That's good.
Which again, one of the great funny bits is Luke walking out of the dust cloud.
It was full Dragon Ball Z in that moment.
So do we see then that Kylo takes on some kind of a pupil, like I know he's not technically a Sith, but you usually see the rule of two kind of happening in some weird way.
No, we're not going to do rule of two. No, because it's all about burning down the past. Rule of two's out.
I mean, Hux is obviously just, I'm evil First Order general guy. He's not, I'm with the Force, and I believe in, you know.
The one aspect here is that for the last two movies, they have constantly referenced the fact that Kylo didn't leave alone. That when Kylo left the temple...
You're right, they had this Knights of Ren time.
He's got the Knights of Ren!
They pulled the pin, and they're just like, we're just holding it. Nope. Hasn't gone off yet. There's a Knights of Ren thing.
I feel like we have not. Like I'm fairly certain that those guys in red, the Imperial Guard, Snoke's Guard, were not the Knights of Ren.
No. I agree because
they weren't Jedi.
If they happen to were, then who cares? Like they're already dead at this point.
Yeah. So my guess is that we might see him have some minor Sith or some minor Dark Jedi kicking around with him.
If they do, it's not going to be a big plot point, I don't think. I think he might have that, because I feel like right now, Kylo Ren's biggest motivation is Rey. He's more interested in either turning or destroying.
And we do see that connection that Snoke set up, obviously.
Yeah, they've got this connection. So his big thing was to either convert her or destroy her. At this point, and I don't think he's not like, I'm going to train someone. No. And that's what I love right now is the fact that he is not a stable guy. No. And I like that. So he's got the whole First Order. The New Republic is gone. The Resistance is a handful of people, and he's got this whole thing, and he's wildly unstable. I am so fascinated to see where that goes.
Agreed. It could go anywhere. It's true. Now, so we do see that line. They drop the line of, hey, when he destroyed the temple, did they even say 6? And they may have given a number, but they said a portion of the students went with him.
Yeah, he said a handful. He said a handful of my students. So it could be like... I
assume they're the Knights of Ren.
It could be like 3.
Right, so you feel like those are the Knights of Ren, probably, right? Maybe?
Yeah, that's what I think. I
think they went off to join their own... They created their own guild.
Snoke basically sets it up like, all right, Kylo, you're the super badass. Here, you guys are all going to work for him, basically.
And we do still have that outstanding scene that we have not correlated to anything. It's the vision scene from Force Awakens, where we assume those are the Knights of Ren, and it's Kylo as the one lightsaber wielder in the rain, and he's like, ba-ba-ba, and he's got the guys with him. And we don't still know where that connects.
I don't think it is. I think it's more so just showing him being evil.
We know that scene of him in the rain is from him burning down the temple. So those guys behind him would have to be the same people who left the temple.
Do we know that?
No, it's not, because he's in the whole garb and everything.
He would have had to come back with the garb.
I'm assuming this is just basically the Knights of Ren. Maybe they're killing off the rest of the apprentices, the ones that didn't get killed. Maybe,
right? Or some kind of a maybe their first time that they took out a village or something.
Yeah, it's like basically just showing the destruction capable of.
I'm just saying, the fact that J.J. Abrams put that in there, and J.J. Abrams is directing Episode 9, makes me think he might loop back around and bring that in.
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's pivotal.
No, I like it is what it is. I'm interested to see what they do. They have to find some way to kill off Princess Leia in the first 2 minutes, unfortunately. Yeah. It's like sad because they clearly were intending not to do it that way. She was the only one left.
I think she might have lived through the whole thing, frankly.
I agree. I think feel very strongly they were going to have a Kylo Leia scene for sure.
Oh, almost
jeez.
certainly.
Ugh.
And
You know?
so well, I've heard a few different ideas on how they're going to do this. My guess is that I would almost assume that Episode 9 is going to open on Leia's funeral.
I can totally buy that.
Unless they have some leftover footage from 8 that they think, oh, this scene could work in this moment, and we bring her back.
Said they're not going to do with her what they did with Tarkin in Rogue One.
Agreed.
They're
will
not
not-
going to do
If
it.
it's a scene that already exists.
Right.
True. Filming for 9 hadn't started when she died.
No, true.
I'm just saying, that if there's a scene from 8 where she's like,
Yeah.
we're in trouble, it looks like they've
I doubt
they
it,
found us.
but I think I'm with you. I'm thinking they're gonna get that. They're gonna deal with the funeral.
I mean,
so it's like
you can see
the Resistance dealing with
like she'll be
Leia's
in the
fall.
opening crawl, like
'Cause there appears
Leia
to-
has died in a
That-
horrible
that could-
accident.
You're
No,
saying
they
that,
also might do it in the title crawl.
Yeah.
That's the other theory. But they've got to find some way to work around this, and I'm sure they can. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they'll do the funeral just to honor Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, and no one would criticize you for doing that. Oh, they had a funeral for Leia, and boo!
Flip 'em over.
I mean, it'd be beautiful. Yeah, it would not a dry eye in the house.
Oh yeah, no. My wife Sam, she like couldn't. Every time Carrie Fisher showed up on screen, she's crying. Like she couldn't handle it.
It's like when they blew up the bridge, I was like, oh, this is fine.
Right.
This is how they're going. This is how they wrote her out, and they had to work around it. And then she.
Admittedly, that her floating through space thing looked weird.
It looked very weird.
It did look a little weird, but I bought it.
It is
I bought
my. I will say her like Jedi float back to the ship is my least favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah, it
is-
didn't. I agree. It looked.
It's just-
It didn't look the best, but I buy it.
I was with it right up until she did like the hand out Superman fly. That's
It did look a little weird. That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
it was awkward. But in any case, the fact that she used the Force is a.
I mean, I buy it.
appreciate
Yeah,
I mean,
it.
we know
she's force
in a
sensitive.
life or death
established
situation.
user. I mean, it would have. I feel like there are other ways to do it,
There ways it could have looked better, but whatever. I'll
but
live.
like.
So, okay, so where do you think we will go? Obviously, there'll be some new location for Episode 9, but will they return, for instance, to Octu? Will
Yeah, I don't
there
think
be
so.
a return to maybe Kylo goes to Mustafar? I'd love to see that.
The pattern so far has not suggested going back to old planets.
You know what would be cool?
Hmm.
Ending on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Bringing it all back, like
That
the
could-
final confrontation happening
The
there.
most likely place for us to go back to is Tatooine.
Jakku.
No, there's nothing on.
the-
No one has any real emotional attachment to Jakku.
The
though.
point is that no one has an.
Well,
hasn't.
Ray theoretically
Now,
let's talk about
It doesn't
Ray's
more. It's
parents.
like, oh, this is the
Okay,
place
so-
I hated.
So Kylo says, "Hey, your parents are nobodies. They were drunks. They sold you for beer or whatever."
I buy that.
Do we buy that?
I buy it.
I buy it.
I'll say this: I don't think he's lying. But
I don't
is
think her
he
parents are important.
misinformed?
I think what her parents are irrelevant. I think that's the entire point. This whole thing has been breaking with some of the crutches that the series has relied on.
Mhm.
I agree
Like,
that
you know,
bloodline
I'm going to
doesn't
go up
matter.
against 1,000,000 to 1 odds.
But
and
I
I'm
do
just-
feel like I do think that it's important to her, and it will remain important to her that arc of who were my parents isn't just resolved now. Like, oh, they were nobodies who sold me. Great. I think like she's still going to need to either learn more about them or find another family member, or I think somehow her family is still important to her.
There's that whole section in the dark section when she's confronting herself, and the thing she asks to see is her parents.
Right.
Yeah, she doesn't see anything. All
no,
she sees
she
is
doesn't. But
and she
that's
doesn't
not-
see it because it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Well,
I
no,
just
she
think
sees
it,
herself.
but you know what I mean?
Talking
Like,
to someone else.
yeah.
saying
Okay.
your parents are nobodies, I mean, that's almost like it's almost like the screenwriter saying it, right? Like, look, they're not a Skywalker or a Kenobi, so they're nobody. I mean, they did something.
Well,
Like,
it's more so
the
they were
dad
not. They were not.
probably
They're
stopped somebody from having a fight
for the
with somebody,
audience. If we met them, it's like, oh, here's Steve and Ted Ray. Like I don't know, like
Yeah.
here's your Steve and.
Oh, she had 2 dads.
Oh yeah, she had 2 dads. Yeah.
Yeah, she had 2 dads.
But they were
But I
drunk.
mean-
They were.
Yeah,
they
well,
were
the
drunk.
point. Yeah,
They
bad
couldn't get
example there,
past
the
the
point is,
fine, but they
even
were
if you
people.
meet them, there's nothing satisfying to be gained
Yeah.
from it. That's why I figured it was. If it wasn't Luke, it was going to be nobody. Like that's the thing. Like it wasn't going to matter.
Okay, I feel like there's a chance that it could matter in some way to her, or that maybe their circumstance was such, maybe they had to get rid of her in some weird way, and it you get some kind of an emotional closure moment there, where it's like, yeah, we gave you up and we felt horrible about
See,
it,
here's the thing.
and we're sorry or whatever. I don't know.
I like the fact that it was just happened. Like they set it up as this, the idea that not everything has some big meaning behind it. The idea of like, oh, you were left here by your parents not because they needed to get rid of you, not for like to hide you, not because it's just like she wanted to believe that. She spent her whole life wanting to believe it, and there was this crushing realization that no, not everybody has this great special thing.
I'll throw this out: is it possible that he was reading? Because he says like, "I see it." Admit it to yourself or something like that. Is he reading her fears? Like, in other words, was he actually seeing the past, or was he just seeing what she feared as the past, which is, I really fear that my family was nobody?
I mean, truth be told, we know that he saw this in a vision that was controlled by Snoke.
Right.
So it is true that it is possible that the information was. I mean, it was
Both
from
of their visions were correct.
It could. The thing is,
Both of their visions were correct. Rey joined him.
Yeah.
He joined Rey.
Oh, yeah.
And so the thing is, their visions themselves were correct.
This is Morgan, by the way. So
agreed. Yes, Morgan.
Here.
In or out, Morgan?
I don't know.
She could be the unseen narrator. She's the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah, and I agree. I'm not fighting the notion that her parents were nobody. I wonder if there's a little bit of gray area in there where, suddenly we find out, oh yeah, those were your foster parents. Actually, your real parents were whatever.
Yeah, that feels cheap.
That's cheap.
I agree
And it kills that whole moment. Anyways.
I mean, here's the thing: I can live with, from a dramatic perspective, I can live with Snoke or Kylo was lying. That's fine. I can live with that, as that they're using that as some tool to tear her down. If they just use an evasion to get out of it, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm willing to buy fully that it's just they were nobody.
Right. She basically won the Galactic Force lottery.
Basically, yeah.
Or here's the thing: this is the same thing that happened with how Anakin was born. I mean, not exactly, since he was apparently immaculate conception, but.
Yeah. Right, but as far as the mom is like, hey, I'm a slave on a random planet.
Yeah, Rey Skywalker is nobody.
She's just some random person.
Agreed. So anyway, all right. So so we feel like the Rey story that has been.
I'm saying
a lot of resolutions.
Thing's not going to play a lot.
Okay.
She may be dealing with some of the issues from it, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of new surprise, this is who they were.
But also, I feel like, I mean, here's the thing: Return of the Jedi. A lot of the Luke's insecurity plot line had been worked through. Like, he's much more confident, in Return of the Jedi than he was in the previous two movies. That's part of the point.
Yeah, I think we're definitely a much more badass Rey starting off the episode 9, just because I think we're going to have clearly some more time is passing.
I was going to ask, do you think there's a time jump?
I think it's going to be a 5-6 year time jump.
I can buy that.
Because here's the thing: right now, the rebellion is
it's like 5 people.
It's the Millennium Falcon full of people.
It is smaller than a high school football team.
My graduating class of high school is
we
more.
Escaped.
It's just about
6 of us.
Yeah, no, it's like the Millennium Falcon gets away. It's like, we're the rebellion.
And they're not even cramming into the Millennium Falcon. It's like we've
everybody's got their own room.
Yeah,
it's not.
There's enough places for everyone to sit down in the Millennium Falcon.
It's Poe Dameron. It's his dude that with the fish face, buddy.
Ian Nub?
No, well, I mean, and Liam Nub. It's the guy who's.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, that
guy. Quick moment of silence for Admiral Akbar.
Akbar.
He died off screen. I was like, oh. They're like,
it was a trap, though. It was a direct assault. No, he didn't die in a trap.
No, I got my head stuck when I was trying to. I was trapped in the escape pod.
Maybe he had thought it was a trap and it wasn't. He got killed. Like, oh, I could have sworn it was a trap. Right.
It's a frontal assault.
It wasn't a trap.
It's exactly what it appears to be.
It's straightforward.
So I was sad. I was like, oh, Admiral Akbar.
But I'm okay. I mean, it's one of those situations that's like, I like the idea of them taking, being ballsy enough to be like, yeah, not everybody gets this, poetic death. Sometimes in war, people just die.
The best part is you realize what's coming next. We're gonna get like an 80-year-old Mon Mothma as the leader of the rebellion now.
No, I don't think so. No, we're going new stuff here.
I
new.
assume it's.
Come on, you want to see an 80-year-old Mon Mothma?
I'm like, you sure? Yeah, wheeling around there.
So yeah, okay. So who are the? I mean, Chewie and the droids. Who are our original trilogy folks that might, do?
I
for instance,
still want to see Lando.
Exactly.
So here's the thing.
I'll tell you this.
So they were.
Han Solo movie's coming out before
So
that movie.
They talked about actually putting Billy D. Williams in Last Jedi, but the problem was it was going to be like the DJ character, and the idea of having Lando totally screw over everyone would suck so much.
Yeah. No. That would not fit his character, which was great in some ways. That DJ did. Did not have a heart of gold.
Nope.
The opposite. He pulled the reverse Lando.
Exactly. He was like, "Hey,
reverse Lando, exactly.
I'm a dude you shouldn't trust." Well, we'll trust this guy.
What it appears to me.
You shouldn't trust me. I'm totally. Look at me. I'm so sketchy. Never trust me.
He went from scoundrel to a heart of gold to backstabber instead of from backstabber to scoundrel with a heart of gold.
I don't think he was scoundrel with a heart of gold. He's just like, I want money.
Well, he appeared to be helpful for a short while.
He was helpful for his own game.
And they also teased it out. They teased us with the idea of him being like the new lovable scoundrel character because it's like he's the thing with he gives her her little
medallion from her sister and everything.
He's a nice guy, and then
boop. That was great. I appreciated that.
I do. Can we also acknowledge the fact that BB-9E is like the real villain of that movie?
That's true.
Because if it hadn't been BB-9E, like everything would have worked. They would have gotten out. Things would have been cool. Akbar would be alive.
No, it is all the fault of it.
It's all Poe Dameron's fault.
Oh no! Yes. No. I know that, but I'm just saying, if BB-9E had not caught them,
then the plan would have worked.
Because that's the thing. I mean, so many movies are like based on the idea of we have this crazy idea. It's totally gonna work.
Independence Day. I mean, look, we'll just float up and put a virus into a spaceship. I'm sure that'll work.
It did always work. Yeah.
That's what's so interesting about this. In the original trilogy, being a heroic
Get over
asshole.
here.
No, being a heroic asshole.
In or out? Jesus, Morgan.
Exactly. Exactly. And we don't sit and say, Morgan. Terrible idea so much because it works. And that's the thing. That's what I liked about this movie. It basically is like, hey, all those crazy plans you try to do, they don't always pan out. Right. And they have horrible consequences when they don't.
Mm-hmm. So sorry, Morgan, please elaborate on your point. You were just basically saying that Poe Dameron, perhaps his macho, I'm going to go solve a problem by shooting at things, is to blame.
I mean, you have a whole movie of egotistical males who get taken down and pegged by women.
It's true.
Now, I would have liked Admiral Holdo to maybe trust him enough to share her plan with him.
That's the thing. We make Admiral Holdo out to be this great leader, but it's like just if she had taken the 2 minutes to be like, there's a rebel base up ahead, we're going to take the transports there, it's going to be great. They're going to follow the cruiser, and then they're going to be completely shocked. Oh my god! But she had major communication issues.
Well, she had the other end. She had the line of, "I have dealt with you egotistical flyboys before."
Yeah.
But what did she gain by being a huge bitch to him?
He did just kill, laying it out, he did just kill 30 people.
Well, true, but she's taking command. She needs to inspire some confidence in the people.
And she had managed to inspire it in everybody except him, and he's
not just him. No, he had a people.
It was a little odd the line between Holdo and Leia after they've stopped the mutiny. So Leia goes in, stuns Poe Dameron, and they're carrying him off.
Yeah.
And Leia says something like, I love that guy. Or it's like some weird, that guy just mutinied, locked himself in a ship, tried to,
he has a lot of spunk.
No. She says, that one's trouble. I like him.
Yeah,
I like him.
It's just a weird way to deal with a mutineer. The dude, almost cost them.
Here's the thing. Leia's got she sees a lot of Han in Poe.
They are rebels. I mean...
They're the resistance.
She's got a lot of people to rely on.
Yeah. I'm guessing she definitely sees a lot of Han and Poe.
Yeah. No, I was just a weird thing to say to somebody that you just shot for
Yeah.
mutiny. That was
Well,
all.
this is-
Kill him.
He's young and stupid.
She shot
with
him.
Young and brash.
He's young and brash, but with a lot of potential.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of a sort of a different side of Poe in the next one.
She certainly
because
passed
he's-
the mantle to him at
Well,
the end there, right?
she does that. I mean, that happens in the end of the movie when Finn has gone crazy,
Yeah,
and he
and
says,
Rose.
"No, wait a minute. No,
Oh, yeah.
wait a minute."
Oh, yeah.
Poe goes, "No, wait a minute. There's a reason we're doing this. Don't go out and fight with Luke. There's a reason
I mean, this is
that
just
he's
it.
doing what he's
Yeah.
making."
I mean, this is
He
just it.
learned, perhaps.
This whole movie was people learning to deal with their shit.
Yes.
Like, we have Poe Dameron learning to not just, go into an X-wing and
To
blow
be a
things
leader.
up.
Yeah.
To be a
I mean,
leader.
Leah says it a lot. There's a lot of dead heroes, but there were no leaders.
And on the opposite end, you have Finn finding his bravery. It's they're meeting in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's actually really cool.
So
from
what
an-
do we see? It seems like Finn's arc kind of, it's like, if I were to put the arc in terms of like, oh, Finn escapes from the First Order, decides finally to just, he's a rebel, and then he kills the person who was his boss before. Like, it seems like his arc, like,
Yeah, he's
got
got a-
nothing else to
yeah.
do now. Like, what did you see him
Well,
doing
but
in the
his
third
arc,
movie?
his arc continued instead of going. He went to the full extreme because that's why Rose had to knock him out of the frickin' target line because he couldn't see the value in being alive. He'd gone so far to no, this is the only route.
I'm brave now.
I'm brave now.
Also stupid.
I'm now.
I'm all brave.
I'm all brave. I have no
Kamikaze
brain
worked
left.
great last time. Let's do it again.
But this is also the first time when we go into this last movie where the gang's all together, so maybe he can be the protector and the extra person that
yeah,
Ray
it is going to be nice to have in the whole crew because everyone's always been sort of disparate.
And he's probably like, I think he's very committed now to the Resistance. So maybe he and Poe, and well, obviously not Leia because she's deceased, but they'll be like the backbone of the Resistance.
Yes.
with her.
I like Rose too.
No, Rose is gonna be fun.
I like Rose because she's normal.
That's the thing.
She is one of the first, she is clearly, and they did a really good job in casting in this, that people look like people. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of different varieties of them, and there's not a lot of, oh, this beautiful. That was one of the problems with the prequels is, here, we're just going to make everyone insanely beautiful
It is
with
beautiful
insane
people.
hairstyles that no one could ever wear.
You know, as we're sitting here
Beautiful.
talking, it reminded me of one of the last episodes of Game of Thrones where Daenerys is saying something. I think she's talking to Tyrion, and she says something like, hey, you know what I like about you is you're not like one of these hero guys. You're not one of these guys that has to go off and save the kingdom and be stupid and die in battle. Like, you're just a guy who's smart and thinks and strategizes and isn't... And, in some ways, that's maybe a little bit of that, what Poe and Finn were having to deal with is, I'm going to be the Jon Snow of this thing, and I'm going to go save everyone. Like, no, okay, let's think a little more strategically. You have a group to think about, not just your own ego or whatever. Anyway, kind of interesting. Blah. There, threw a Game of Thrones in there. Ah,
Hey,
wee,
nerds!
nerds.
Watch. I can't comment.
Ah.
Oh, sorry. I mean, spoiler. No, that wasn't a spoiler, right?
At this point, whatever.
No, I'm at the point now.
I read George R. R. Martin. Everyone dies. That's how it
I'm at
works.
the point now. I'm at the point now with Game of Thrones where I'm so
Not
far.
every man truly lives. Okay.
I got through season 3, and I'm so far behind now that the spoilers don't even make sense. It's wonderful.
It was
It's
like, yeah.
I'm not
hearing
retaining the
Lost
spoilers because they don't make any. Like, people will say things, and it's just a combination of words.
After the Red Wedding. Whatever.
Gotcha.
Like,
All
this
right,
guy died, but he didn't die.
Oh,
and
you
he
mean-
did die?
You
but
mean
now
when the
he's-
waif stabs Arya in the street and she doesn't die? You know that bit. Sure.
Wait, we got off topic. All right, sorry, I did that. That was me. So final thoughts then. Last Jedi. How do you? I don't want to say you didn't rank it necessarily, but you mentioned you liked it better than Force Awakens.
I will argue that this is on a quality level with the original trilogy. Like, I don't think it's necessarily as good as, say, Empire. But I think it's taking a run. It takes a run at the other two.
Yeah. Okay.
It takes a run at New Hope and Jedi. It's gonna take some time.
Once the fanboys settle down a bit.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing.
Also, part of this will be it's still a story in the telling. So
Yeah.
I think episode 9 will inform how
That's
this
the point.
story
How good
came
this
about.
was. Whether the tiddlywinks we set up are going to fall in a fun way or not.
Exactly.
Well, and I feel like the other part on this one is, for my nieces, this is going to be the better movie.
Cool. A lot more role models.
Well, more role models for more pieces, and because this is the one that they're exposed to first. We're very partial to the ones that we're exposed to.
Oh yeah,
first.
oh yeah.
And
It's
like they saw the original series because their dad sat them down to do it. But I think that there's a certain amount of, hey, I've got a figure to look at. But this is also the one I saw first. It's the reason that that I like Ewoks, while other people don't.
Oh, yeah.
There's How I Met Your Mother thing about that.
Yeah.
About the Ewok rule. If you like Ewoks, you're under a certain age.
Yep. I love Jedi. I don't care, man. I grew up watching Jedi.
Wall, I'm fine. I'm good with you. Okay. So yeah, and I thought generally speaking, all the leads I felt gave strong performances. I wasn't a lead that was on there. Well, like when a certain lead came on, I'm like, oh boy, here we.
Yeah,
like,
nobody felt that.
They were all very good, so I was like, thumbs up on that.
Even Frank Oz was on his game.
Frank
Yes.
Oz is always on his game.
That's true. Frank Oz is always on his game.
It's a
So
weird
good.
moment.
Kudos to you, Frank Oz.
It's a weird moment the moment you notice that Miss Piggy and Yoda are the same voice.
Yeah.
Like almost the exact same voice. Like a little higher pitched for Miss Piggy, but not a lot.
Not a lot. It's good. I'm there. Miss Piggy can be directing information about the Force all day. That's cool. All right. Well, cool. It's been we've talked over now. So I get a little Fozzie
That
in
didn't
there.
get used enough.
We need Ralph. Okay. So Morgan, Ted, Rob, a pleasure. Thank you so much for talking Last Jedi. I'll get this thing up, and we'll. You're in Dork Lords history now.
Woo!
Yay! Awesome. We'll talk more about other cool Nordy. I just made
Nordy.
a word.
We will.
Dorky, Nordy
So
things.
nerdy, it jumped a vowel.
Just,
Yes. On that note, bye everybody.
farewell, nerd.